Hello lovely people! Today I'm bringing you inside my garden to show you all the new things that I'm growing this year and to talk about how I've handled some really funky weather. If this garden looks a little different, you're right, and I'll get to that a little bit later. Very excited about the transformation that's happening here. But first I want to remind you, everything you're going to see growing in these Vego garden beds today has been grown from seed. I grow all heirloom varieties that I start indoors several weeks ahead of the garden season and transplant out, except for a few things that I direct sow, and I'll show you what those are. I use a no-dig garden method, which means I don't disturb the soil. I just add a layer of compost on top each year, and I don't use any pesticides. I try to grow an ecosystem that balances itself out so that when I see some bad bugs, I grow things to promote the attraction of good bugs to help me handle those issues. I grow in Garden Zone 7, and this year started off so incredibly hot. We were in a drought, and then the rain came and it didn't stop. So right when my plants should have been flowering and a lot of pollination going on, because that's what's going to give you fruit, right? The pollination slowed way down. Pollinators weren't flying because of the constant rain. So I'll show you a little bit of the ramifications of that as I take you through my garden. We'll start right here with my beloved tomatoes. Each year I grow about 12 different varieties of tomatoes. If you're growing heirloom indeterminate tomatoes, go back and watch. I have a ton of tomato episodes. I show you how to do the modified Florida weave that you see right here. But I want to just focus in on some new varieties that I'm quite excited about. Before I show you those, I just want to tell you that these two tomato plants right here are Thorburn Terracotta. Every year they have ripened earliest for me. They are a delicious kind of terracotta colored tomato that has so much nuance and flavor. It is one of my absolute favorites, and it's set a ton of fruit here. I will never give this one up. I just want to highlight that. But I talk more about all my varieties that I've grown before in previous videos. I'll link them for you. Let's go down to the new varieties. So right here, I have Thorburn's Lemon Blush. It's supposed to have sort of tropical notes. And as you can see, it has already set like over a dozen tomatoes. So I'm really excited. I'll report back to tell you how they taste, but I'm really happy with how it's growing. Now, another surprise. My other new big variety is right here. Follow me this way. This is called Bread and Salt. It's a Russian heirloom, and it really surprised me this year on two accounts. It was the first one to set fruit. So my beloved Thorburn's Terracotta was outstripped by this new variety, Bread and Salt. It is an ox heart. It is the only true red tomato that I'm growing in this garden. It's that classic slicing tomato that's great on sandwiches. The growing habit of this tomato kind of surprised me. It has really kind of wispy leaves, not very thick stems, so I've had to support it as it's grown a little bit more than some of the other varieties, particularly like my green tomatoes, which are such hardy vines. But I'm super excited to try this. Let's go right here. This is a bed that's in transition. I had a cold frame here and I started lettuce about a month before I usually can get it by direct sow, which was wonderful. But because that was older lettuce, it started to bolt, and I cut it all down just a few days ago. Here I had beautiful Japanese giant red mustard greens, which were absolutely delicious. They started bolting too, so I cut them back. I have a second round of lettuces. This is red wing lettuce and Yedikule that is also starting to bolt. So I'll be cutting them down and planting new lettuce seeds with shade cloth over. I haven't tried to do that yet, so I will let you know if that takes off. Now, fava beans. I have never grown fava beans before. I've grown lots of beans, but never these. This is a Windsor variety. I love fava beans, sauteed in some good olive oil, maybe a little prosciutto, some cheese. Delicious. The way that I know that the fava beans are ready is that I just give them a little pinch. If there is sort of a little bit of flex and air in it, I don't pick them. If they're firm, I pick them right away because I don't want them developing that sort of black line that comes with fava beans when they age. So let's see if I've picked it properly. Oh yeah. Okay, so these are really perfect. They can get a little bit bigger. I could have let that sit for maybe another couple of days, but these are gorgeous. Look at that. Nice and tender. And now that I've opened it, of course I'm going to eat it. Oh, so sweet. If you've never had the pleasure of eating a freshly picked raw bean, you gotta do it. So good. Fava beans are really a cool weather crop, so they're on their way out. But I have interplanted them with, do you recognize what this might be, guys? Right here, this is a bigger one. Yes, it's corn, but not just any corn. This is specifically for baby corn. So this is a variety that I am meant to pick at a very immature stage. It grows like 40 ears per stalk. I've never grown corn before. They're very heavy feeders. So we'll see. I'll report back. Let's move over there. So here I have two of my cherry tomato varieties. You'll see all my tomatoes are quite denuded right now. I prune heavily the leaves, especially after so much rain. If you don't give these tomato plants airflow, you can really kind of promote disease. So I trim a lot of leaves that are sort of crisscrossed or in the shade anyway, get the air moving between them. This is a variety I've grown in the past called black cherry, which are a delicious sort of large round variety. And this one is a new one to me called Brad's Crazy Cherry. And this one is known for being absolutely prolific. Huge clusters of sort of light yellow pointed fruit. There's a few unripe fruits on there, but what I'm loving right now is seeing big clusters of flowers, which is indicative of those big clusters of fruit to come. You'll see right here all of these beautiful flowers, and now that it's stopped raining, the pollinators are flying again, and that will turn into fruit very soon. Also in this bed is my favorite variety of zucchini. It's called Costata Romanesco, and they get these beautiful ribbed fruits. As it grows larger, those ribs really become pronounced. It is such a meaty zucchini. I love zucchini, but I hate watery squash. Watery and seedy squash. No way. This is the opposite of that. The plants are beasts. As you can see, the leaves grow so big and they trail along. And as they go along, I trim off the old leaves. Again, it's about airflow. You do not want your zucchini to succumb to powdery mildew, which will happen if there's a lot of dampness going on. So I trim off the old leaves, and as you can see, there are some male flowers here, some female flowers here. Sometimes they don't always sync up, but I think these plants are strong enough that they're starting to do that. Now, my eggplant was only planted out about 4 weeks ago. The rest of the transplants went out about 7.5 weeks ago. I have a real problem with flea beetle. They really kind of punch holes, as you can see on one of the eggplants. It doesn't usually kill the plant, but it does make a young plant struggle in the beginning. So I really kept them inside, sort of tried to protect them for as long as possible. And then I just planted them out a few weeks ago. So I do see a flower on a new variety to me called Kamo. They get beautiful, dark, purplish black fruit, only about this size. So I expect to be harvesting eggplant in the next couple of weeks. Oh, I plant them here with the zucchini because the zucchini will peter out ahead of the eggplant, and these especially this variety, which is Aswad, grows huge. The plant gets big, the fruit gets very big, and it needs a lot of space. So I think ahead. I know that the zucchini will be done in a few weeks' time. They will come out and the eggplant can stretch out. We'll go this way next. Here in this tangled bed, I've got several exciting things. So this is my melon plant. It's a new melon that I haven't grown yet called Kajari. New to me, I should say. It's an Indian variety. It's this beautiful sort of copper-colored skin with stripes. It is supposed to be the most delicious melon you have ever tasted. My husband actually told me about it, so I tracked down some seeds from Baker Creek. I have it growing up this kind of makeshift wire trellis. I have all these random pieces of wire that I just use as a trellis every year. Now, what the heck is growing through the trellis? This is Florence fennel. I grew it last year. It got a very tiny bulb. I wasn't really happy with it for the fennel itself. I love fennel, but this bulb was so sort of tiny, it kind of wasn't worth picking. I cut it down last year, left the roots in the ground because I do no dig, and it grew back. It survived the winter and it came back. I've let it grow since then, just kind of trimming it back. I'll trim this down as the melon grows over. But I've left it as a kind of experiment to see if it could be a trap plant, meaning it will attract some bad bugs away from the crops that I want. But I've also noticed that it has become a host for the swallowtail butterfly. I see a caterpillar over there munching away. I grow bronze fennel in my herb garden, which is across the way there, just for the beautiful swallowtail butterflies. But regular fennel, they'll be happy to eat too. So I'll leave a little bit for them to munch on. I'll cut this back to let the melon grow over. On my trellis every year, I grow cucumbers. Let's take a look. I'll show you the varieties I love. These are two Japanese varieties. One is Natsu and one is Jibai. I might be mispronouncing those. They get smooth-skinned fruit, really large fruit. I'll show you one down here. This is that big. This can get a good 4 inches bigger than this as the season gets going and these vines get stronger and stronger. But this is a really nice size cucumber, not very seedy, not bitter at all, really sweet. I love them. I grow them every year. I've tried others, always come back to these two varieties, which are very similar. It's hard to distinguish between them. Maintaining good airflow with cucumbers is also important. So I do a lot of maintenance on these vines. I'm helping them to grow upwards, and I'm also trimming back the leaves. Don't be afraid to trim the leaves off of your cucumber plants. Let the air flow in between. And at this stage in the summer, the main predator for my zone is the Mexican bean beetle. It's a orange beetle with black spots. Sometimes it's mistaken for a ladybug, but once you know what it looks like, it's easy to tell. I just look underneath my leaves, and this trellis system makes it really easy to do that. Just squish them if you find them. And then you can keep them really in check and under control. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got tons of fruit here, so I will be sharing cucumbers with all of my neighbors and my family. Let's go look at some beans. So I am growing a couple of my favorite beans, a purple bush variety called purple teepee. And these are just like your regular green beans. In fact, when you cook them, they do turn green. The purple color doesn't stay, but if you eat them raw, it does. In fact, you can see on the inside it's green. Lovely, tender, sweet variety. The other one I'm growing is dragon tongue, which looks a bit like berlotti. I grow them to harvest at this stage, which is the immature sort of snap pea stage, I guess you could call it. If the beans are in the light, if the sun can hit them, they get a beautiful marble pink color. If they remain in the shade, they'll stay just sort of light green like that. They are so prolific. I am picking beans for weeks and weeks, and I overplant too. When I plant my bean seeds early in the season, I often have a pill bug problem where they will come, and also, what do you call them, earwigs. They will come and eat the little tender sprouts. So I overplant so I can compensate for that, and I really should probably have plucked out some of those seedlings, but it's so hard to do. Once they start growing, you just want them to flourish. So this is a very dense patch of beans. I do prune the leaves a little bit to get some airflow going, but they're gorgeous beans. And eventually I will let this variety mature so that I can harvest the bean itself. My family loves rice and beans, so I'll use it for that. Before I show you my blueberry plants, I will just pause right here to show you some potatoes that I'm growing in these buckets. They're just starting to flower. These are new potato variety, so I'm going to wait for all the plants to flower, and then I'll start checking for those potatoes. We'll see how they go. This is my first year growing potatoes in buckets, so fingers crossed I will report back. Let's go behind you and see my blueberries. So I can claim little credit for these blueberry bushes. They were here when I moved into this house almost 4 years ago. But every year when the fruit comes, it's a constant experimentation of how to protect it from the birds. I have a healthy population of catbirds which love to eat my blueberries. A couple of years ago, I covered them with white row fabric, and that worked really well. I would just kind of pull it back when I picked. This year, I did that. However, I learned something, guys. Because of that really intense heat we had early in the season, it was like being in the middle of summer already. It was that high. It burnt the tops of my blueberry bushes. Blueberries shriveled, leaves died back because of the intensity of the sun being absorbed by that white fabric. So I just decided to share my blueberries this year with the birds, and it's been all right. We have been picking blueberries for weeks. I probably have a couple more harvest sessions on these big berries, which are really, really gorgeous. So delicious. And several more harvest sessions on these smaller bushes. They get this kind of sweet, tart blackberry. It sets a ton of fruit that just keeps on coming. I can't even keep up with it. So, you know, the birds are happy about that. I have asparagus growing. I harvested 100+ spears this year, and then let those plants fern out. A wonderful surprise this year, I really noticed that the flowers that grow on the asparagus were just absolute pollinator magnets. It was buzzing. I have done asparagus videos in the past. Check those out if you're thinking of growing a patch yourself. It's a wonderful perennial crop to have. Very low maintenance. Shall I tell you about this fence that you see behind me? This is a work in progress and an absolute dream come true. I am going to show you how we built this garden fence that I needed to keep out deer, keep out groundhogs, keep out rabbits, and I wanted it to look beautiful. I will do a video on that a little bit later to see if you agree if we've achieved that. But right now it is incredibly hot. I'm melting, so I'm gonna go. I will bring you back into the garden when all those new varieties are ready for harvest. We'll try them together. We'll see if they're worth growing. Until then, go check out my home gardening playlist. Tons of great stuff in there, and I'll see you next time.